I think we see everybody. Okay, so I want to welcome all the people who came out on a Sunday to let me ask them the question, how did you heal? So this is the Andrea Effect. And we are going to start with Maisha and go. I just want you to introduce yourself first before I ask you the official question. But really, everybody be stewing on. How did you heal? How did you get where you are today? And do you feel like you're healed or are you healing? Okay, so we're gonna start. You want to go ahead and answer the question, or you want to just tell people who you are first?
Hello, my name is Maisha, and the question is how did I heal? I'm still healing. I feel like healing is an ongoing process, and you have to stay aware of where you are and where you're trying to go. So it's a constant process. And for me, the main thing is accepting that everybody is not going to understand or accept my process. And that's one of the hardest things because, and I just talked about this the other day on my live, is when you go through things, you change. You become a different person, and you can't explain that person to other people. So that has helped me, and it is helping me to stop trying to explain myself to people or get validation from other people, because I only need that validation from myself and from God. Hi, I'm B. Daniels, and yeah, I would say I'm still healing as well. I really just kind of started focusing really on healing probably when I turned 30, so that's 5 years ago now. And there were a lot of things that I didn't even know really affected me in a negative way until I started the process of trying to heal, because I wanted to be happy. I think that was the overall thing. I was dealing with not being happy a lot of days. I was sad a lot of days and just like, okay, I'm not enough. What is going on? So I was like, okay, girl, you need to go dig deep and see what's going on for real. And I started therapy, and that really opened up doors for me, worked wonders. So I would say it's still an ongoing process. There are still things that I'm learning about myself. As Maisha said, you change. Like anything as far as like trauma, it's going to change you. You're not going to be the same person, and you have to be okay with not being the same person. A lot of people, especially like on social media, they'll be like, oh, I wish I was happy like I was 5 years ago. I wish I was this person I was 5 years ago. And it's unrealistic. You're not going to be the same person if you're always trying to be a better person.
Hi, I'm Tequila Plus. For me, yes, shaken not stirred. But my healing, I am currently actively still healing, and I see healing as rehabilitation. I see it as you have to recognize that there's something going on within inside of you that you might not like, that shows up in your behavior, that shows up emotionally, that shows up mentally. And then you have to give yourself permission to heal. And what that may look like. What do you want to look like? What do you want your healing to look like? Who do you envision yourself to be? And it's okay not to know the answers right off the bat, but to, the hurt is not your fault, but the healing is your responsibility. I look at that a lot. I also think give yourself grace as you're going through this healing journey. And like I said, I think of healing as rehabilitation, like the process of, substance abuse, getting off. And the fact is, you're going to stumble sometimes. There might be times that you go back to an old behavior and you try to figure out what triggered you, what happened for me to go back. And then you dive deep, but again, going through therapy, realizing your past background and how that affected you. But I see healing as transformative. I see it as empowering, and I love where I am. I have really given my things back into place. So healing is just that.
Hello. Well, if I remember the question well, I think, who am I? Okay, I didn't remember the question at all. Hello, to be here. Healing is an ing. There is no ed. I will follow up on that.
So Monica, and I guess
just like everyone has said here, healing is a complete. When I kept thinking about this question, I thought, well, I'm not there. But I'm also probably the oldest on this panel. So every single time I think I'm there, something else comes up and I got to work towards that new goal. So having said that, it's a constant. It really is a constant. So I agree with everyone, my younger babies on here. I agree with every one of them that it is a constant thing that you have to be aware of to continue to heal.
All right, so I'm the only guy on the panel, huh? Okay. My name is Ricardo Cordu, and for me, healing is something that is perpetual. I realize the older I get, there's always going to be a challenge, and without that challenge, I can't become a champion that I'm called to be. So it's a success principle, whether it's financial, physical, emotional. It's something that is going to be continual, and I know that it has to be a challenge. Nothing can be perfect, or else I can't see the stains that are designing me and architecting me to be who I'm called to be. So that's healing for me.
Hello, everybody. I am Quintessa Solomon Hardy. I think healing is forever ongoing. I think that to say you are healed means that you are in a place of, where you feel that you can control your response to other people's response to you. And that's something that we can never control. I think that, like Ricardo said, healing looks financial, it looks spiritual, it looks at, how you deal with people on your day-to-day. And I think that healing is a journey. I think it comes in many forms because different things will trigger that healing process. Like, oh, I thought you were healed, but somebody popped up on Facebook and now you got to show them what time it is. Or, somebody might have said something to you on the wrong day and you looked at them like, you know what, you ain't even, you don't really know me like that. And you have to really catch yourself. So I think healing is a forever conversation that you have to have with yourself. And I think you have to always put yourself in a position to know, if this was to happen, how would I respond? Or I'm running into this person who has hurt me before, how will I respond? Shall I respond? Or recognizing that you only can control you. So I think healing is all forever ongoing for me. Okay, so hold the mic. Let me ask this. What do you say to people who see you show up as your full self, and when back what I call I'm hood adjacent, and when I revert back to that, how people think that I should not behave that way simply because I'm presenting as my full self. A healed version or a healing version of myself. So what do you say to people who say, okay, if somebody comes at you and you respond in a way that is not what people perceive you to or expect you to respond in that way, how do you explain that?
I think for me, and I pass the mic, I think that I humanize it for the person. First of all, I'm not perfect. I'm sorry if you perceive me as this perfect person. I've never wanted to come across that way. But Jesus ain't done with me yet, right? And so I always tell people I'm a Christian in transition. I'm not there yet. I ain't touched the hem of his garment yet. And so, with me, I'm still liable to just, reverting. I'm not going to lie. And so that has happened to me on many accounts. And I honestly feel really bad because I have a lot of mentees who are full-grown women that look up to me and men. And it's like, I can't believe you posted that, or I can't believe you said that. And I have to humanize it for them and let them know I'm not perfect. And so I have feelings and I bleed too. And so sometimes the gloves do come out, but I do think I take the responsibility, as Tequila said, to rebuild myself and rebrand what I just put out. And I have no problem with taking full accountability, having awareness and acceptance in the situation. Those are my 3 A's that I always care about, when it comes down to how I engage with other people. So I think that looking at, this person did this, but is it me? Why was that triggering for me? Because who are you? Like a year ago, I didn't even know who you were. You weren't even taking up my space. So why would I allow this type of person to trigger me? And it may not have been what the person said, but you hadn't been healed yet when it comes down to how you deal with conflict. Because conflict should be a part of our day-to-day. Conflict should be a part of, okay, you like the Pittsburgh Steelers and I like the Falcons. What's going on? What else is going on? You know what I mean? So I think for me, it's just recognizing that I'm human and having that day-to-day conversation with myself that it's okay to cry and it's okay to say, dang, I messed up, but how can I fix it? How can I rebuild my presence so that people will know that I am human and I make mistakes?
Okay. A lot of times people look kind of with Quintessa, I can say that because we're friends. People look on the outside and they see what they perceive that they see, and they will test you just to see are you really that person. And a lot of my attacks come from people that know me personally, people that I've shared my intimate most struggles with and things like that of that nature, and it will make you feel like you're not healed. Or, why do I keep going through the same thing with different people? So that's another aspect of healing, is when you keep having the conflicts with the same people. Because sometimes their goal is to get to know you intimately, so they'll end up doing the same thing. Granted, I don't always think that it's intentional, but people are not aware because, for one, they're not healed either. So, like they say, hurt people hurt people. They hold other people to a higher standard than they hold themselves. So that's why we get those attacks and those tests to see, are we where they think we are, not where we said we are, but where they think they are, and they want to kind of prove what everybody else see wrong, which is crazy, but.
Well, I think I might be the least evolved in this conversation. Wherever you think I am at, I'm probably going to meet you at. If you go low, I'm probably going to go lower. Unless Andrea tells me no. I call her once a day and ask her if I should or should not do something. And she reminds me that I can get charged for the things that I'm asking about. And that usually stops me. Sometimes. Sometimes I call her after. My friends say I do that. I'll call them after, so I don't get told no. So these are the things I'm telling you not to do. If you're trying to heal, when I dig deep and I am really trying to heal, I retreat. Everybody knows I disappear. Well, that's for your safety and mine. No, but for real, like, a lot of times, like, it's the people that find you in your darkness that really care about you, right? So it's like, when I retreat, sometimes it's just to see, like, just to really see people for who they are, because the people who are trying to pull that out of you, they're smiling in your face harder than your friends sometimes. So it's like, sometimes you have to retreat to see who's really going to reach in the darkness. It helps you kind of filter people out. And then for me, it helps me, like, just calm down and not be triggered by people, places, or things, because I'm not there. And if you're angry by yourself, then you have a problem, and you got to go to therapy or figure that out. And so I can see when it's me versus when it's everybody else when I'm alone, which is also why I retreat, because it allows me to, like, readjust, maybe shift my paradigm, because I hate bleeding on other people because I haven't healed. And I spent a lot of my life doing that. So now I'm like a very intentional retreater. But in that process, I've been able to develop, like, the support system. So I know I'm going to go to therapy on Monday, talk to my psychiatrist on Tuesday, talk to Andrea about 3 times every day. Then I'm going to call my sister. I'm going to call my line sisters. Like, I kind of have a routine that I was able to create in that retreat. But when you're in it every day, when you're showing up, when you're going to karaoke, you know what I'm saying, when you're trying to party, like, you just end up getting so many people in your ear. You be done slap somebody and you didn't even mean to. Maybe you meant to, but you had the wrong influence. And so, retreat. That's one of my things to help heal.
To answer your question, I'm sorry. To answer your question, ask the question again.
And wine. I drink wine.
We don't know who this is sponsored by. You said when somebody triggered you or think you're supposed to. Okay, so one, people's perception is their reality. So your perception of where I'm supposed to be has nothing to do with me. That's all of you. I will not take on your perception. I will walk in my authority. I will walk in my where I am, because what you think of me has nothing to do with me. Second, give myself some grace. Am I tired? Was I hungry? Because I know me. When I'm hungry, y'all gonna see the other side, and she's not gonna be pleasant. Did I have a long day? Am I stressed? These are things I ask myself. And if I know that I'm not in a good mood, or if I'm somewhere like the DMX is pretty come out, then I need to remove myself. And that takes accountability and responsibility as well. But for someone to purposely trigger you to try to test you, that means I need to set a boundary. And the boundary is not for them, it's for me. That's one thing. And then that makes me look at my circle, as she was saying, looking at your circle, looking at who has access to you, and trying to see who's important. There was somebody I talked to, Candace Griffin. She said, is this going to matter in 6 months? Is this going to matter in a year? Ask yourself these questions. And anytime I'm about to do something or I think about something, those are questions I ask myself. Is this person going to matter in a year to me? Is it going to matter in 3 months? Is it going to matter in a week? And just really saying, what will I learn out of this if I behave this way, or if I react? What is that saying about me and where I am? And sometimes, again, you gon' flip. You are human. You gon' want to slap somebody. You gon' want to jump kick them, bust them upside their head. Just different things you might want to do, but just really honing in on where you are and where you want to be.
So I'm gonna take it from another scenario, and the reason why is because anytime I get challenged for something, I've learned that I need to advocate for myself. And when you advocate for yourself, it looks different to everybody. So me being a black man, speaking up for myself, people perceive that I'm angry. No, I'm advocating for myself. If you're treating me wrong, I'm allowed to say you're treating me wrong. And a lot of times, that's what people think, oh, you're out of your character because you decide to advocate for yourself. No, I'm in my character because I'm taking my space and I'm owning my space and telling you, you can either decide you want to deal with my space or you want to walk away from my space. And I realize that the more I speak up, the more I offend people, because they're like, oh wow, maybe I can't take advantage of this person anymore. You know, I understand the mindset of, oh, I'm going to curse you out. No, I have too much to lose to do that now. I've learned too much. I can't do that anymore. I can't afford to do that. I have gained too much ground to go back 10 steps. I'm past that now. And that's what I realized. But when I stand up in my truth, when I stand and I advocate for myself, it looks different. I'm supposed to propel people away. I'm supposed to offend people because I'm a change agent. I know I'm supposed to change places where I go. I empower people. I'm going to scare people. I'm not going to operate in fear anymore. So that's some things that happen when you're healing. You're healing. You're gonna express yourself. You got to. It's gonna come out, because if you have a wound, the wound is gonna either be exposed or you're gonna scab up. It's all types of processes that happen when it comes to healing. And so everybody you have to own that advocation for yourself. Advocate for yourself. So.
And just to piggyback on that, I would like to say that if you are healing, sometimes your advocating for yourself came late. And I've learned, just do it in the beginning, because then you ain't got to cuss them out later. See, sometimes we allow people to treat us crazy, and then we be like, oh my God, why would you do that? Because you gave them the space, time, and opportunity. If I had just let you know in the beginning not to cross that street, we wouldn't be on this road. So I've learned, just advocate in the beginning. Give people your boundaries in the beginning. If you ain't got no boundaries, just make up some and just pretend to uphold them until you decide that you want some different new boundaries. Because just letting everybody have access to you and just trying to be like just too open, people who are kind might accidentally offend you because you just haven't taught people how to treat you. And if you do that in the beginning, it'll save a lot of relationships, a lot of strife, a lot of setting the record straight, because you won't have somebody accidentally step on your toe when you told them where your foot was in the first place.
So again, everybody's saying the same thing. I learned that you teach people how to treat you. I also learned, like you mentioned, that, Nancy mentioned this so well, because I always tell people, I will match your energy. So let me know how we're acting today. And sometimes I do have an attitude problem. I do have a little feistiness about me. So what happens is people aren't used to when I do stand up for myself, or when I do say no, they'll think, oh, did I make you mad, or are you being mean, or whatever. So again, like you say, advocating for yourself, it looks a different way when people are so used to you doing for them. So then when you decide that they don't have that access anymore, you're not going to do for them anymore, then they wonder what changed up. What changed up? So I think it is a constant. I don't know how to not match energy. It comes natural. But I also think that I'm not a mean-spirited person. So if I match that energy, it does not, like, it's not going to be cutthroat, pretty much. But, I mean, it's going to sting a little bit because, like you said, you don't want people to continuously treat you that way without you speaking up for yourself.
Okay. You didn't answer. You ready? Okay.
No, I just want to make sure I go too. So, with me, I do try to show, well, for a long time I tried to show just like the joys of life. Just being happy and, you know, kind of showing just the upside of things. But a lot of times it's good to show your downside as well. Every day is not happy. You're not going to smile every day, all day. And I think a lot of times people look at me and they think, oh, she just has like this, I don't know, they think I got a lavish lifestyle. I don't know why. I mean, I try to enjoy life as I can, but it was a struggle a couple years ago. And even just growing up altogether, it was a struggle. I went through some stuff in the trenches. And a lot of times people forget, as everybody said, you know, they forget that you're human. So, and then when you're healing and you're around people who are not aware of how they are, it's going to agitate them. So they're going to try to come at you, and people forget that you're entitled to feel angry as well. You're entitled to go low as well, and they forget that when you know, you kind of put yourself out there like, I'm happy, but at the same time, don't try me like that. Because you have to put people in their place. You have to.
Okay. So, last week I shared with everybody that I'm not a nice person, but I'm very kind. And you know, there's always these oohs and ahs, like, what you mean you're not a nice person? Or why are you telling people you're not nice? But people who are nice tend to not have good boundaries. And so they're doing things in order to benefit others, not because it is benefiting all of us. So any kind act that I execute is because it's something that I want to do, not because it's something that somebody else wants me to do. So I definitely echo a lot of the belief that you are constantly teaching people how to treat you. So if you're in a situation ongoing with somebody and they're treating you badly, you have allowed it, so you have taught them that it's okay to treat you that way. But my next question is, can you tell us a time where you decided that you were going to execute a boundary and you did it, and what was the outcome?
It's kind of piggybacking off what Ricardo said. I used to be a person that kind of went with the flow, or somebody may have done something to me. We don't talk about it. We just move on like it never happened, and I wouldn't say anything. Or even if I did, we just kind of, oh, that's my cousin or that's my best friend, and we been hanging out. But what I saw was the same things kept happening. The same things kept happening. It may not have been pretty much kind of the same thing. They might have said something different, but it's the same thing because people think that they can say whatever they want to you and do you any kind of way. So I've been through too much to just let somebody treat me any kind of way. And what I have in my mind that I've adopted is I've already lost the most important person in my life. So if anybody else can't treat me how I deserve to be treated, then bye. And it hurts. I'm not saying it's just easy to let people go, but it hurts, and it hurts even worse when it's people that are close to you. I had to decide that this journey that I'm on is personal, and I got to work toward it myself. I can't depend on anybody else to heal me. I can't depend on people to be there all the time when I need them. And I had to learn that God puts the right people in your life where y'all can understand each other, and it doesn't have to be a word spoken. Like in the beginning, like you can't explain the change to people, but He put the right people in. Well, you don't have to say it. You don't really have to say a word. I can say I'm friends with pretty much everyone on here, and we don't have to speak a word to each other, but we're there. And it's not always the people that you think. So I really had, my decision was to choose me. And it seems selfish to a lot of people, especially those people that were used to the, and I can't say, they look at it as not being a forgiving person. I am a forgiving person, but I'm also number one. So if you take me choosing me as not being forgiving, that's on you. I had to choose me, because when it boils down, I have to go home alone and sit in this by myself, and I can't keep being a doormat for people to trample all over me. So that was my choice, to choose me. I would say, for an example, I'm going to use my mom. My mom is, I think she just started to become aware of some of her issues. Because me and my sister had to set boundaries with her. She did not like them at first. The way she would speak to us and just certain things that she would do, you could tell she's dealing with things from like her childhood, her reflection of how she should treat somebody because of how she was treated, instead of doing the opposite. But I place a boundary of, hey, if you're going to keep talking to me like that, I can't talk to you at all. So I gave her silent treatment, and it worked. She recognized what was going on, and she put some steps in motion to try to better herself. So, and our relationship is much better now. The way she speaks to me with respect, as I do her as well.
I will say that a boundary I have enforced is you don't have access to me all day. And so that means I set a certain time that you can talk to me. And if you go beyond that time, if it's not important, you get no response from me. And if I don't want to do something, that's a no, and I don't have to explain myself. No is a complete sentence. I'm not going to defend I'm not going to justify, I'm not going to argue, I'm not going to defend, and I'm not going to explain. It is what it is, and I will walk off and keep it moving.
I think the boundary that I most recently have had to draw the line in the sand with is like, don't mess with my finances or my credit. Or just any of my resources in general. Just don't mess with my assets. Anything that I could leave somebody that I might leave it to, just leave it alone. Because I think at one point I just my mom died last year, and I kind of just let go of the boundary card, and I kind of gave people a little bit too much access, and then they got a little too happy. And then, I will say that there were a couple of different reactions. Like one scenario, I was able to draw that boundary, and the person and I were able to reconcile, and they were able to hold themselves accountable and like show through their actions that they wanted to reconcile. I've had to stop speaking with someone, and I stopped speaking with someone for like 365 plus days. Like, I'm gonna stop talking to you. I've practiced the ability to just not. I got a lot going on anyway. It's pretty easy. And this other person is just, I can tell we're not gonna reconcile because they don't get it. Like you gotta understand that you did something wrong to even like have me begin the process of forgiving. Because I feel like sometimes people be trying you because they think that you're supposed to forgive. Just because I'm a Christian and I'm gonna forgive you don't mean it's gonna happen right away, or without you getting cussed out, or without all the other stuff that you're gonna go through before I realize that I gotta forgive you when I get there. Like, so I just think that we should just skip all that and you not do it. But if you have done it and you can't recognize that you've done something wrong, then that's the only way that I probably would just, not speak to someone going forward. Like, I've done things wrong and I had to realize it. And if I didn't realize it and those people didn't speak to me, I would understand that. So I would say, those were the three reactions. Like, someone was able to be like, I'm wrong and I'm gonna make it right. I'm not wrong, you know, we just at a standstill, or I gave them space and time and then we were able to move on. So it kind of depended on where they were at with, I guess, what they did to me, kind of, I guess. And then the other side, the flip side, when I did stuff to people and I needed forgiveness, I have to admit, a lot of times I didn't realize that I had did something wrong. I was trifling. And I was just like, what the problem is? What you mad for? But then I had to like probably get told off by another friend that was still speaking to me. And they told me like, you know you was wrong. You know you was trifling. You know you did X, Y, and Z. And then at that point, I either reached out to the person and I asked for forgiveness, or I just left it alone. Like, you right. You should have stopped speaking to me. I was trifling. I'm not going to go knock on that door, because I feel like sometimes people be trying to force you to speak to them after they did you wrong, when it's like, I got to respect your right to not F with me no more because I kind of violated. And I don't like when people do that to me either. Like, don't try to force down my door after you done violated. Like, you got to respect my right to not F with you no more.
I think mine was in a professional stance, like as a licensed clinician and having my own coaching practice. People think that they have access to me whenever because they think that, oh, you know, she's going to help me. I can follow her DMs. You know, I can speak to her in the club. Like, I'm so tired of sitting at the bar and people coming up to me. Like, this is a PSA. I do not want to talk to you in the club. Like, if you see me, let's speak and keep it moving. I don't care what you got going on Saturday night when I'm with my family. I don't care. And so my boundary was understanding that it's okay, even as a clinician, to not care, because where does my peace come in, right? And I have people that will literally book stuff with me just so they can talk to me about their personal. And so my boundary had to come from a professional stance on, I love you as a human being, but like Andrea said, I am not nice, but I'm kind. So I can listen to anybody and direct you to my booking site and say, hey, let's get this scheduled, let's get you on the books. But the boundaries sometimes come into play where, like, I don't call a lot of people my friend. Like, everybody up here on this stage, I think all of you all are my friends. I think we got great energy. But I think like random people be thinking that they can kind of like, you know, I'm going through this and, you know, I was just wondering, can we go to lunch? Why? We're not friends. Why do you think we should just link up and go to lunch? This is not Love and Hip Hop. Like, no, this is real life. I need to save the little 20% of my brain for my husband and my children. I don't have time. And so I think sometimes all of us up here are professionals, and I think we can all agree that sometimes people will push the limit on their professionalism to be like, oh, well, Andrea, you know, I was going to stop by, to, you know, to do some resource building, but they really get there and want to trauma dump on you. And so you have to really set that boundary, especially if you're in a professional position, because people will take that and run with it to try to like badger you and really hammer down and trauma dump on you or what they have going on. So yes, I'm a clinician. If you're in services, you probably still won't see me because it's a boundary issue, right? It's ethical principalities. We're not going to do this. But it's also, in my businesses, I don't mind talking to you, but it's not going to go any further than that. And so I think for me, I had to realize if you just going to be a mean girl, you're just going to be a mean girl, because where does your mental health start? Some people think it's okay to just sit around and let people trauma dump. Everybody that DMs you don't need a response. And so I have about 5 people right now sitting on red in my phone that's still waiting on me to text them back. And I mean, I will literally look at my phone and I have like streams of text messages where they are talking to themselves at this point. And I have to say to myself, this is mental health. This is not somebody that just want to check in and see how you're doing. They need somebody to talk to. And so I had to start responding because you want to be nice. You got to recognize when some people need healing, some people need therapy, and say that. I don't care. I will refund you your money in a minute and say, you're not ready for coaching and development. What you need is to go to therapy. Once we start that journey, then we can pick this up on the business, because you cannot build until you heal. Okay?
And if you're ready to start that journey, go to makingmentalhealthmatters.com.
Hello.
And sign up for your free consultation. Services available at all rec centers throughout Macon. Thank you.
Okay.
So out of nowhere, I thought, I don't really know where I have a boundary. But something just hit me. I have always been nice. I've always been nice. I mean, and nice and kind really kind of confused me. And a little while back, Andrea and Mama Cisse used to say, let that go, let that go. And I won't call names, but I just felt like I was taking on. There's a book out there, 1 Minute Manager, and it talks about how we walk around and people will put the monkeys on your back. Our children sign up for sports. Well, you know, I graduated high school, went to college. I ain't trying to be in softball anymore. I don't want to be in band anymore. I don't want to be in, DECA. I mean, he's at college now, and I don't know what club he might have signed me up. I don't want to be a part of all of that. But I also realized that even after I took care of all of that business, now I find everybody else's monkeys to take on. So you got some problems when you want to talk to me about your bills. I'm up here sitting there listening to your story. I'm going to lunch. I'm listening to you talk about your housing. I'm talking about, car problems and drama after drama. And I'm just absorbing this. And finally I realized that no matter how much I have said to people and said, here, let me help you. I'll give you this resource. I'll give you this resource. They didn't use it. They didn't use it. It was like they wanted me to do it. And it wasn't until recently that I just straight cut a boundary. And I found myself really proud of myself a couple of days ago when I actually did something that was like, whoa. It just made the person on the other side of the table like stop. And I'm like, nope, I'm just taking care of me right now. It's just me right now. So I thought to myself, when you said about being kind, everybody is used to Monica being nice. They're used to Monica having the answers or being able to have the resources to send you where you need to go. But now I've gotten to a point that, I set a boundary of, if it doesn't really benefit me all the way, and in my kindness, if I don't want to do it, then I'm not bothered with it. And I'm finding that, and this is even with sometimes friends. I consider some people friends, but you also realize that some of your friends have that energy that suck you dry.
These aren't real friends. That's not a real friend.
Oh, okay, so they're not really my real friends, and I'm going to go to Nancy over here to match energy. But I realized that sometimes this sucks you dry. So having that boundary to say, like Quintessa said, not return the call, because, I mean, sometimes you don't return the call. Those are where my boundaries have started. So I've learned a lot with that, when that would never have happened before. I would have responded and started helping you in help mode.
Well, I think going off of what you said, that you have to have a spirit of discernment with, okay, fine, they might be your friend. Some of our friends need help. But I think people, we're using that friend card too heavy. And I've recently discovered that. I told you, I just lost my mom, so I'm having a whole life rearrangement. The friend card is used too heavy. Because a friend is going to respect your boundaries. A friend is not going to do something that's going to deplete you or drain you. They're going to be like me. They're going to retreat before they dump. So anyone who's doing that, like, they already skirting past you not really being a friend. But that's another conversation. Next podcast. What I would say is have a spirit of discernment. Because life is separated between takers and givers. There are takers and there are givers. And the people who take and they don't know that they're takers are dangerous. And they're also not your friend. A taker can't even be a friend. They don't even know how to give. How could they be your friend? And they will sit there and take until you ain't got nothing to give. And then move on. Yo, move on with the quickness that done sucked you dry. Yo, okay, so this is real quick. I'm just going into a little ramble. Symbiotic relationships. I love having symbiotic relationships, but I'm also learning every day. I learned that there are different types of symbiotic relationships. I thought symbiotic relationships were relationships where people benefited, but there are 3 types of symbiotic relationships. You can have a parasitic relationship where someone is benefiting from you. They're sucking you dry, but you're not getting anything from it. You could have, I may be saying the word wrong, but you could have another relationship where both of you are benefiting. That's called mutualism. And that means both of you are giving. And then you can have another one where one person is benefiting but the other person isn't. So they're not a parasite, but they're just not offering anything to you anyway. But they're still winning off of you. It's a transactional thing. You want to have a mutualism. You want to have something that's both and, like we're both winning, just like Mo said. Once you have someone that's taking and they're not giving, even if they're taking and it's not hurting you, they need to go. And I think so many people skirt friendship with that somehow. I don't know how they do it. They be enabling you, they be out drinking and partying with you, giving you bad advice, and you just think that it's friendship because they're there. But don't mistake companionship for friendship, because a true friend is never going to do anything detrimental to you. And so look for symbiotic relationships that are about mutualism, because even if that person don't have nothing to give, they're going to listen, or they're going to show up, or they're going to tell you, I don't got nothing to give, and they're going to be honest and authentic, and even that is actually giving something. But people who take, they come, they're duplicitous, they got multiple personalities, they tell everybody something different, what they want to hear. You know, you just have to have a spirit of discernment, I'm telling you, because you cannot heal in the same places that traumatize you, and you cannot heal around the same people that are traumatizing you. And I have experienced that a lot in Macon. Like, you're over there dumping to the person that is basically stabbing you in the back, and that's why you're not healed yet, because you keep getting re-wounded. And you need to just really, sometimes letting go of the people that are hurting you, it's gonna hurt. The right thing to do is sometimes the most painful thing to do. But I'm just trying to tell y'all, because I done been there. And I done almost caught a body in some charges a couple of times. Leave these people alone. And tell them to come to Macon Mental Health Matters pop-up gym every second Saturday to get the healing that they really need from a therapist and not from you.
For me, it was probably about 2020 when I made the decision to move to Georgia. I was, if you can imagine me now, you know how I serve a lot of people, I give a lot, and that was the same place I was in, but I was giving so much that I was giving from a deficit. And what I've learned is, if I'm giving from a deficit, that means that I'm hurting myself continually. And I found myself making a decision to move to Georgia, and it was like at the one time I had my girlfriend who's now my wife. I had my pastor that I was serving, doing ministry and all these different things. I was giving so much, but I couldn't find my footing. And so making that decision in faith, listening to guys like, hey, it's time to move, I hurt people. I know I did. But at the same time, I couldn't even see my future anymore. I lost sight of what success looked like. I lost sight of, what being a good father looked like. I was in such a bad place mentally and emotionally that I had to make that decision. And people today, they see it, they're like, man, I know 2-3 years ago I was mad at you, but now I'm so glad that you made that decision. Sometimes you make decisions for people. You make decisions for people, and then they don't even know that you're making it for them. Because now I'm not enabling them to be weak anymore. I'm enabling them to be strong, to make the decisions like, well, Ricardo did that, but I seen how he did that. Now I see why he was trying to teach me how to do this before he left. And so there's things like that, and it actually brought me in a mindset of, I realize now that I'm a change agent. I'm a success builder. And I didn't know that, being in that weak position. And so healing, sometimes you have to make a decision to leave. That's the biggest part of your healing process sometimes. So.
Thank you.
I'm a big piggybacker, but I drink this big cup of wine, so y'all about to get it today. Let me tell you something else, right? When I tell you that you have to really, really discern between takers and givers, I'm not kidding, because I didn't know Ricardo left people behind. But I had to do that one time too. But even if he left people behind, Ricardo gave in the way that he was able to. Do you know that Ricardo does prayers at like 6 a.m. in the morning? And he don't know. One time I was up broken, and I accidentally pressed on TikTok, and there he was praying at 6 a.m. in the morning. And it was everything I needed. So it's like, he may not have been able to give me something, but he gave me everything I needed at that point. And that's the difference between a taker and a giver in your life. It may not be financial, but they are going to give something. Really take inventory of the people in your life. They're in your life right now. They're not giving you anything, and they're your favorite person. Let go. Let go. Because you're gonna be missing out on a Ricardo. It's someone you don't even hang out with like that. And he's up praying for you and you don't even know it. And you got the other friend with you pouring the tequila down your throat. No offense, tequila, we're gonna take some shots later. But either way, you don't need that right now. And you so hung up on this person because you feel like they're giving you something and they're taking. And so I just really want y'all to emphasize that, because he didn't even know that I had watched this prayer. He's sitting there right now like, oh wow. Yeah, I saw it. I was there praying. I was there crying like a little baby. Like, oh God. So I'm just saying, like, you have to just have that spirit of discernment. Get rid of the takers in your life. Send them on their journey. Hopefully they'll become a giver one day, but it's not going to come through you.
Right. I agree. Okay. Thank you. I mean, I feel like this is a very personal thing for you. Not feel. I know that it is a very personal thing for you. I appreciate your reserving some of your comments today. So, you know, being a counselor, especially a marriage and family therapist, I try to make sure that I convey to people that all cutoffs are not bad. Cutoffs are necessary for growth. As an almost 44-year-old, I know I look good, honey. But as an almost 44-year-old, I think about all the people that, because I used to be very nice and had a very big problem saying no. I still got a problem saying no, but it's not as big as it was, because if somebody want to come sit next to me at the bar and trauma dump, I'm gonna take it. But I don't have clients that I see regularly, so I don't have to. I view myself as a community therapist, so I'm gonna listen. But in my relationships, I do believe that in order to have gotten to a place where I can be the most beneficial to my community, but really the most beneficial to my children, they deserve to grow up in a way where they don't have to heal from their childhood. So now whatever else they go through, that's gonna be on them. But I'm gonna get them through childhood and early adulthood without really having to heal from something that I did to them. So this is probably gonna be my last question, and I want you to think about a time where you were crying, upset, pissed off, cursing. He's not gonna do it here, but all that. And when you were younger, where you didn't know how you were gonna get through whatever it was that you were going through. Talk to that younger version of you and tell them what the future is like. How you're going to get to a place where you are healing.
Your last questions are usually always loaded, and this is loaded, very loaded. So I would say, okay, one instance when I was younger. So I grew up, my grandmother raised me, and when my grandmother passed, me and my sister, we kind of just fell into the custody of my uncle that lived with my grandmother at the time. And he had this girlfriend. She was only like a couple years older than me, but she was a piece of work. Which they're married now, but so she would provoke me by saying certain things to me, just like when I went into foster care as well, things like, are you just gonna end up like your mom, your dad, stuff like that. And I remember one time, like, it was to the point where she was like really in my face, and I really wanted to hit her, but I didn't at the time. But things got really, really heated, and I remember she called the police on me. I was probably 14, and I had to end up going to juvenile court. And I was so scared because I have never done anything just like really bad in life. And I was like, oh my God, I'm at a moment now where like this could really determine like what my future is gonna look like. And I remember the judge just really showed me grace. And they looked at, you know, my history and stuff, and it was just like, you know, we understand you just went through a rough time. But I think about that a lot because I'm just like, what if I really did hit her? What would that look like for me? And just being where I am now, I would tell that 14-year-old teenager at the time that things are always, it's going to get better. Things look bad sometimes, very, very bad. But you're given another day of life for a reason. And I think that is what keeps me going even now still. I'm waking up the next day, which, you know, you don't know for sure if you're going to wake up the next day. But when I wake up that next day, I'm like, okay, I still have purpose. And that's what I would tell my 14-year-old self, like, you have purpose and you're going to fulfill that purpose.
I would say, and my grandma would call me Shay May, or my dad, baby girl. Everything that you have gone through and everything that you will face, it is not for any, it's not for nothing. You are stronger than what you realize. And I'm trying not to cry. Every challenge, everything is going to help you to help somebody else, because your life is not your own. And you have purpose, you have drive, you are intelligent, and it doesn't matter what it looks like. It always works out. As long as you keep your faith in God, as long as you keep on moving, as long as you cut out all those people who are toxic and possessive or poisonous to you, you're going to be just fine. But keep your head up. Make sure you are confident in yourself, and it doesn't matter what's going on around you. Everything is to strengthen you. And as you keep getting strengthened, and as you keep going through, thank you. I promise you, nothing is going to stop you. And it's okay that you went through this. It's okay that you experienced all these different things. It's okay. It's a part of life. Life happens to everyone, and you're never alone. And it's not for you to hoard it. It's not for you to keep. It's for you to share. Because whether we know it or not, Jesus is a bridge. We are made in His image. We're bridges. We might be bridges through the trauma that we experience to let people know that there is another side. We might be a bridge to resources. We might be a bridge of hope. But everything we are bridges to change for people. And at the end of the day, it's their choice whether they're going to change. But you make sure that you do what you're supposed to do. And that's it.
I don't like Andrea. How do you pick a question that made people cry for their answer? Yo, this is crazy. Yo, everything in me is trying not to cry. Losing my mom was the hardest thing I ever did. She adopted me, so it's like, I feel like when someone adopts you, it's different because like there's no obligation to take care of you. They chose that, and I'm annoying, so she really chose me. Oh man, like having to bury her and get her back to Macon and like all that, like I'm gonna tell you, I cried, drank, smoked through that whole thing. I was just there. I literally promise you I was just there. And if I look back on that girl, man, you got it. You know, it's funny because, like, I don't know, anybody that lost a parent, like, you feel like your guidance is gone, but like at the same time, everything that they put in you comes out at that time because you are the person that they made you. So I would tell myself to remember that, like, you are your mother's daughter, you know, even when I don't want to be. Look at my nieces over there. Don't I be telling y'all off? Yeah, I'll be sounding just like my mama. Y'all just don't even know. but they over there. Y'all won't even know they were there. Y'all might not see me cut my eyes over there a lot, but that's how well behaved they are. I got 3 nieces and a baby here chilling while I'm doing a podcast, and it's like, that's my auntie and me. That's not really me. The me and me would have them all over the place swinging from the chandelier. So I would look back and I would tell that girl, like, you're more than what you think you are. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you got more of her in you than you think you do. You know? And like, I'm a very symbolic person. So one thing I've been noticing this whole time is that me and B got the same tattoo. We both have a tattoo on our foot that says walk by faith. And mine's is faded. And that's because I didn't take care of it right. Don't do like me. But I would say to that girl, just like, don't try to figure it out. Just get up, brush your teeth, wash your face, take a shower if you got the energy, and put one foot in front of the other and walk by faith, because a lot of times you're not going to see where you're going. You're not going to see that you're going to be talking about healing on Andrea's podcast in the back of Barefoot with your nieces and nephews that you never grew up with. You're not going to see all that. But if you try to see that, you'll get disappointed. So you got to just really walk by faith. So that's what I would tell that girl. Like, you may not know what's coming after you bury your mama, but it's going to be okay. So walk by faith. And the last thing I would say is laugh. I'm always going to tell people to laugh. And if you don't know how to laugh, come by me and I'll crack a joke inappropriately and you'll laugh. Because I don't know, man. It's like you gotta laugh to keep from crying, which is what I just did. I just did my own trick. Like, this stuff is hard and it's rough, but if you can find a joy in it, you can find a laughter in it. If you can find a laughter that my 1-year-old nephew is there, fascinated by Mickey Mouse, because I actually charged my phone for once. That's funny to me. Like, I see the joy in that. Like, Mariah, Madison, Selena, they now over there acting all crazy. I see the joy in that. And if you could look for the joy in the moments that could be painful, you'll be fine. Because there's a lot of laughter in this. Or even like your mom. I was almost laughing like when she said, oh, my mom done finally started healing. Maybe she did or maybe she didn't. But it's the fact that you could laugh on it. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, man, your mother is just a human before she was your mother. Like, the same thing with your father, your husband, your boyfriend. Like, they're literally just a human being trying to play this role for you. So if you can find the laughter in their mistakes and your mistakes, like, you'll be fine. Because a lot of the stuff we do is just, it's kind of funny. Not in the moment, but maybe a little bit down the line, you'll look back and be like, I was an idiot, or they were an idiot. And it's okay. So I would just say, find the laughter. You got a mic.
So what would I say to my 14-year-old self? I would definitely, back then, I think I looked for everybody else approval. So for me, it was a constant, and you don't realize that it's a learned behavior, that me looking for everyone's approval affected me being nice, and that's what I thought was how you get ahead, is being nice, whether it be professionally or personally. So what I would tell that 14-year-old, just simply put, is that you are always enough. You are always worthy. I didn't hear that until about a year ago when someone just held my hand and said, you are worthy. Like, tell me what that even means. You know, so enough, I'm worthy. I don't have to do, I'll tell her, you don't have to do for people for them to like you or be in your corner. I picked the wrong friends. You know, you guys see me as Mo, the helpful person. Be very mindful to look around my circle. These people picked me and let me in that family. I'm very strategic with my friends. Whereas before I would just let anybody, like you said, anybody was my friend. Anybody was hanging with me or do whatever. I would tell that little girl that you don't need to do all that. You don't need to do all that. And as a mother, oh my goodness, I know my son is not even close to listening to this podcast. But if I know, right? If I have ever thought about doing anything for him, was to let him know that he did not have to be what I was portraying. You know, he did not have to put himself out there to do for everybody. He needed to be himself. He didn't have to have, someone says, quality over quantity of friends. I'm just as satisfied. My dad said, do you prefer to have 2 quarters or would you like to have 50 pennies in your pocket? Well, since I don't like wearing belts, I'll take the 2 quarters. And it's stuff like that that I just want to tell that 14-year-old girl that 2 quarters is better than 50 pennies, or it's just the same. You know, what's the value? You know, and it stretched you thin, but you are worthy. I say that to my kids. I say it to my nieces and nephews. You will always be enough. You will always be worthy, and you do not have to do things for people to get that worthiness, that love, and that attention. Because I think I definitely milked off of it and had to grow out of that.
You have to constantly be willing to take on
What should I talk about?
new ideas.
So let's see. I can remember I was about 12 years old, and I was really struggling in school. And I thought to myself, why not take this prayer thing on? And I remember opening my eyes and asking God, like, God, help me with school. You know, the teacher doesn't like me. I just feel like I'm in a bad place. I'm now 40 years old, and I still get on my knees daily and pray. But what I didn't realize then, that 12-year-old kid who was praying for the first time to really build a relationship with God, that was a superpower that I was building. I didn't know that my prayer life would lead me to become a speaker, to become an author. I didn't know it was going to build me in that character and that to have that confidence to walk out on faith. Also to have discernment. And so your prayer life, nothing happens till somebody prays. And once you recognize that, you'll realize what your superpower is. It gives you space to be able to think, to be able to see. So when things that come up that seem like it just happened, somebody just treated you bad, you'll know that it's going to happen. It has to happen so you can have that opportunity to become that champion, to operate in that challenge, to be able to show your skill sets where people will ask, like, how can you handle that? Why aren't you breaking down? Why haven't you committed suicide? Why aren't you doing drugs? It gives you the opportunity to build that space up, to build your character up, but also tell your truth, and also plant those seeds in front of people to inspire people. I didn't even know I inspired you. I hear that more and more because I made a decision as a 12-year-old. So I would tell my 12-year-old self, keep doing the things behind the scenes and doing more. Whatever you dream about, do it. Write it out. Talk about it. Develop it. Create it.
Oh Lord, I guess I gotta bring it home. Thank you, friend. I think, and I like how we focused in on the number 14, because there's something about that 14th year that was just transformed. It was rough. I was illegally working at the Macon Mall back then, and I've been a hustler all my life. I tell people, when I say my first job was at 14, they like, how? You don't get a work permit to 15, but I was going through a lot, like my sister B. Ray said, in my youth, you know, having to go live with my dad and no longer living with my mom and his, you know, living with my dad and his ex-wife, 3 women prior. You know, anybody know my daddy, he'll move in a shaker. He's no longer with them. And trade that one in. So I literally, probably as a Rolling Stone. And so I literally was going through so much hardship. Right when I started living with my daddy, like, oh my God, I'm gonna have some stability finally, because I grew up in Oglethorpe Homes. Me and my mom, we never had a car. I grew up in the hood. I always tell people, don't get caught up on what it looked like, because I really done been through the trenches, okay? And so I used to have to ride 5 and 6 buses to go to school, live with my dad, went over here to East Macon, and I'm really West Macon, and I'm like, oh my God, I don't know none of these people, I'm gonna have to connect and all these kind of good stuff. And when I moved over there, I just had, you know, an old Cinderella stepmom. She was just horrible. And so I really felt like there was no other way. And so I started working at the mall and I started connecting and just using what God gave me. And I'm using it for change now instead of, removal of some things. Because back in the day, and you didn't want to have no argument with me. I ain't mind going to hell. Excuse me for the French. I didn't mind going down there. And so I literally would say that at 14, going through all of that, I learned how to network with people in the mall, people who I still connect with to this day, positions that I got into after that I realized looking back on it, like, and it wasn't that long ago, I'm only 31, but it just feel like it was so long ago, and I'm like, I just felt like I was never going to get out. My mom was battling homelessness, mental health, all kind of stuff, and I felt so helpless. And to be in a position now where, and my great-grandmother, she died 2 years ago at 96, and I did not know my grandmother worked for the state of Georgia for over 50 years. They got pictures of her. You just don't know who you connected to until you go back, because you truly don't know who you are until you go back, And so you got to know where you come from in order to understand where you're going. And working as a mental health professional is in my blood. Being an entrepreneur is in my blood, And I literally say, I went and I saw that and I said to myself, if I could tell my 14-year-old self anything, it was being different is what's going to make you a billionaire one day. Because I never felt like I fit in with girls. You would probably see me with a few cliques here and there, but I never fit in with those people. And I look at some of them now and I'm like, they're doing the same stuff now that they were doing then. So you being different is going to be a part of your future. And don't get caught up and feel suicidal and feel like you're going to wind up like your mom. I can relate to that so much, because you're going to be different. And the difference that you're making is going to be something that's going to substantiate you for the rest of your life. So honestly, Andrea, I feel like just looking back at my old self and crying and just feeling like I was just so stuck, not understanding how blessed you are, because that tenacity was building then, your faith in God was building then, your discipleship was building then, your confidence was building then, and all of those triumphs had to happen. That's a part of your journey. I think it was Tequila that said we are all on a bridge. So if you didn't have something to get you from one end of the bridge to the next, kind of what you building for? You ain't been through nothing. You ain't been through the struggle. And I for one, I'm glad I went through the struggle young, so that I can be one day hopefully as good as my sister over here 44 and don't look like it, because you already done been through it. So I don't want to be going through my crisis at 50 because I ain't going through nothing because somebody rolled out the red carpet for me. I'm happy for the bridges, the bus rides, the waiting in line at the churches for the boxes. Somebody talk to me in here, because now that I'm grown, when I hit a rough patch, I know how to handle it because I've already been through it. I just make it look good. So that's what I would tell my 14-year-old self. Thank you, Sarah. Listen.
Now, I'm going to get you to say one more thing.
You know I want to piggyback.
Like 90 seconds.
But this is terrible, too, because I'm going to end this on something that we ain't never talk about. Little niece and nephew, close your ears. Because they kept saying 14, and I kept thinking to myself, what happened at 14 that I'm blocking out? I lost my virginity at 14. Yes, and this is what I want to say. And I'm going to say it to the men because I'm straight. Y'all need to stop taking advantage of women that y'all know got daddy issues, because y'all be picking them out. And it's like, it's wrong, because you the reason why I'm healing now, too. You white men over there, too. I see y'all over there listening. Y'all, too. Listen, y'all need to stop. Because some of y'all men is adding on extra years of trauma to women for no reason. And some of y'all women, y'all trifling as hell, too. And y'all need to stop doing this stuff to men, and then they come back around and do it to me, because I'm a sweetheart. I'm not like that.
Because they got mama issues. Everybody got mama issues. Or daddy.
Mama, daddy, auntie, both of them. I don't know. Everybody raising everybody these days. Fine, feel free. But my thing is, stop it, because that's what happened to me at 14, and I wasn't ready yet. And I'm just thinking back to 14 now, and I'm just like, listen, we be traumatizing each other sometimes. We be hurting each other sometimes, and I just think we just gotta take a little bit more. Get my back up off the floor. You gotta take a little bit more consideration to not hurt each other, men, women, and I'm done. Less than 90 seconds, huh?
Thank you.
Everybody say amen. Everybody say hey. Okay, all right.
Woo. Okay. Listen, everybody who's sitting here, I asked you to come sit with me. I appreciate the opportunity to learn here. there is something about 14 that I think it was pivotal for a lot of us. But what that says to me is that we need to create some system, some program where we're wrapping our arms around young people at the age of 14. That we don't just talk about how we experienced this trauma at a certain age and we don't do anything with that information. Okay, so I want to say that Andrea a year ago probably went a lot lower. I matched some people's energy a lot more than I did than right now. And I know that I would not be who I am and who I present. Not present, because what you see is what you get. I tell people, I said to B, we were going to an event, I said, B, I don't code switch. So when we go in here, we're going to show up here as our full selves, regardless of who is in the room. And we were the best dressed. Our table was the bomb. We all looked amazing. I mean, listen, they were like turning their heads like, who? Baby, we came ready. The Goodwill. You was there? We was at Goodwill. Yes. Come on. I'm like, wait a minute. We was there. Yep, same glad. So I think that people definitely have there's a misconception that when you appear a certain way, that you don't struggle, that you have, that you're not wretched, and I am. Now, come on, Bugetto, every day of the week. But their perceptions can sometimes become your reality if you allow them to become all-consuming. And so when I thought about the title for this, it was really a conversation with B. We talked about music and how music can heal. So it's supposed to be focused on that. But then after, it was going to be on Easter. We decided we were going to do it at Easter. So when it moved, it kind of became how did you heal in general. And I think that I can show up in this version of myself, one, because I stand on the shoulders of my amazing mom, who has been surprisingly quiet today, and she's not hungry, but she allowed me, even as a very young person, to have a voice and to disagree with her, and to respect me even as a kid, and allow me to make decisions that maybe other parents, especially other black children, didn't get to make. So I have always gotten an opportunity to show up as my full self. And so I hope that when people listen to this episode, that they see all these beautiful people here who had a struggle or who are still struggling, but then persevering and doing it in front of us. So thank y'all very much for coming to the Andrea Effect. We're going to take a 2-month break. I see y'all back. So thank you. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't hear what you said. You said a final thought? Okay, final. Huh?
Backstage, that's it.
So the final thought for all of the Andrea Effects, makingmentalhealthmatters.com. Follow makingmentalhealthmatters.com. It's every second week of the month. They just added on Thursdays at, is it Chic Couture? Chic Couture.
Chic Culture. Janice is in the bag.
Yes. Okay. So they have that going on with women's tea on Thursdays. TNTs. Look, I know it just started, guys, so you gotta have me have it, hear it constantly for me to remember it. But they have that on Thursday that just started. They have the men at Church Hills, and apparently women can't come in, but hey, own it. Oh, she said we can meet at Hills afterwards, but give it to the men. Don't just go somewhere else. Oh, you can feel, oh, yeah. She said we can meet a healed man afterwards. Oh. So that means we're going to hang out at women, we're going to sit at the rookery outside and wait for them to come. So I just made a whole new event on it. Yes. Right. So you have all of the different events. Fridays, the second Friday is going to be the yoga at Cotton Avenue in front of Z-Beans. If it rains, they go over to the Art Center. And then on Saturday, we bump around. We'll be at Sardis Church. I think it's May 10th. I think that's a Saturday. That's the Sardis Church Rec Center, South Viv. Then you do healing hikes on Sunday. So all of that to say, you should be following makingmentalhealthmatters.com. The Southern Center for Choice Theory is powered by, and Sequel on Facebook, social media, Instagram, all of that. Yes, let's do that. That's the final thought for all of the podcasts. We need that to get out there.
Woo. Thank you, Monica.
Andrea.